Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Nord, Chief Medical Officer at Medcan. In this video, I'd like to give a little bit of an update around the Omicron variant that we're experiencing right now and go through a couple of big themes in terms of the businesses and the impact for some of our corporate clients. Probably one of the more important things that is a bit unique with Omicron is that it is more transmissible by aerosol. So airborne transmission is way more significant, which underscores the need for businesses to really look at ventilation, especially in an indoor environment, ventilation and filtration. Really important that we do everything we can to encourage air movement. That could be something as simple as fans, HEPA filters that could be standalone HEPA filtration in meeting rooms, keeping doors open. Anything we can do to basically keep air moving reduces the chance for infection significantly. Couple of things that we haven't really heard about recently, but I'd like to mention a couple of themes. Flattening of the curve, we haven't heard that recently, and then herd immunity. I mean, those are things we heard about in wave 1 and a bit in wave 2, and it strikes me that we have to go back to that just a little bit. The herd immunity is only important if we can get global herd immunity. So how do we do that? We do that ideally in two ways. Well, vaccination is working great in first world countries. The other way that we can get herd immunity is through infection. And if we could have a variant that was highly transmissible, but very, very low in severity, that basically wasn't killing people, that would be the ideal way to develop that global herd immunity. Well, with Omicron, basically we have a lot of that. We have a transmissible variant that at the same time isn't quite as severe as what we've been experiencing in the past in terms of hospitalizations and mortality rates. And so ideally what we'd like to have is the whole world catch a cold in the same month so that they would all develop immunity, and then basically the pandemic is over. At that point, you've heard we go endemic, where it's something that we may be living with, but it really doesn't have a huge consequence for us as a population, and certainly for us as business people as well. The other theme really is flattening the curve. Super important for us to do whatever we can to flatten that curve, to slow the rate of infection for a number of reasons, particularly important right now because we're facing a supply-demand issue in our healthcare system. So we're seeing the demand increase exponentially with a doubling time every 4 days. But what that also means is we have healthcare workers that are off sick. So that's the perfect storm. These two things, this mismatch between demand and supply that we really haven't seen before. Most of us watch the media. We're pretty much aware of what's been happening. I think we all recognize that Omicron is much more transmissible than the Delta variant, probably by about 6 times more transmissible. But we also know that it's less severe by about 6 times. We also know that the case rates are probably a fifth of the actual infection rates that we're seeing in Ontario right now. So that's a bit of a scary number. If we're thinking we have 10,000 positive cases happening in a day, that's probably more like 50,000 on a day-by-day basis. What does the next few weeks look like? Well, case rates are going to continue to increase over the next few weeks, peaking towards the end of January. By mid-February, the wave will have passed so that we can start to think about a March return to work in office settings. So those are some of the big themes. We start to think about a short-term picture. And what that picture really says is short-term pain. We're going to have to do everything we can over the next several weeks to flatten that curve. The big other takeaway is this is going to end. The wave will pass later this month, early into February, so return to work programs can restart in March. And at the end of the day, we hope, fingers crossed, that this also might be the beginning of the end of the pandemic. I'm Dr. Peter Nord, Chief Medical Officer at Medcan, hoping this was helpful. Stay safe, everybody.